Yes, we are back. Let's start all over.
We have an entire situation where everybody in the world can see clearly what's happening. And then we have a situation where these people don't care if you fucking see it. They'll lie, they'll cheat, they'll steal, they'll kill your fucking kids. They'll do anything that they fucking can to get their way. Until people wake up, rise up, and demand that to change, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. These people have no intention of ever stopping oppressing the citizens of the earth. So the question's going to become, what the fuck are we going to do about it? We're going to have to come to an understanding of what it's going to take to actually get these people out. It doesn't need to be violence. It needs to be cultural. Cultural change will make it so those people have no fucking power. When we are independent, when we are healthy, when we are fit, when we are financially well off, when we are setting an example in our schools, in our neighborhoods, it makes it impossible for them to get their way because they can't propagate their bullshit onto an intelligent people. The people of the world have gotten fucking lazy. They've gotten too trusting. They've taken things for granted. And because of that, many of the systems in the world are now being abused by these people who don't care whether or not people die, whether they get sick. It doesn't matter. They don't care. And like the only thing that's holding back a complete world revolution from happening is that these people still believe that these people here are playing by some kind of rule set. They're not. These people do not think like us. They do not behave like us. They think only about control, only about power. And tyranny and control, they never stop themselves. So we have to ask ourselves, what are we going to do to stop this shit? Because these people won't stop. It's going to continue to get harder. It's going to continue to get worse. It's going to continue to get more oppressive. And that's the point. While these people are causing chaos and damage, they are counting on for us to beg for their solution and to accept it. But the truth is, we don't have to accept it. We can choose to see this as an opportunity, especially Americans here, to actually redraw and redesign the country the way it's supposed to be. We actually have an opportunity now to really gain people's attention to understanding that we could redesign America in a way that it's intended to be. And we need to build a movement that starts from the ground up that demands that America actually become the way it's supposed to be. And I think it's long overdue that we, the people in this country, take that shit back and make it fucking ours.
If we look to the answer as to why for so many years we achieved so much, prospered as no other people on earth, it was because here in this land, we unleashed the energy and individual genius of man to a greater extent than has ever been done before. Freedom and the dignity of the individual have been more available and assured here than in any other place on earth. The price for this freedom at times has been high, but we have never been unwilling to pay that price. Those who say that we're in a time when there are no heroes, they just don't know where to look. The sloping hills of Arlington National Cemetery, with its row upon row of simple white markers bearing crosses or stars of David, they add up to only a tiny fraction of the price that has been paid for our freedom. Each one of those markers is a monument to the kind of hero I spoke of earlier. Their lives ended in places called Belleau Wood, the Argonne, Omaha Beach, Salerno, and halfway around the world on Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Pork Chop Hill, the Chosin Reservoir, and in 100 rice paddies and jungles of a place called Vietnam. Under one such marker lies a young man, Martin Treptow, who left his job in a small-town barber shop in 1917 to go to France with the famed Rainbow Division. There on the Western Front, he was killed trying to carry a message between battalions under heavy artillery fire. We're told that on his body was found a diary. On the flyleaf, under the heading, My Pledge, he had written these words: America must win this war. Therefore, I will work, I will save, I will sacrifice, I will endure. I will fight cheerfully and do my utmost as if the issue of the whole struggle depended on me alone. We must realize that no arsenal or no weapon in the arsenals of the world is so formidable as the will and moral courage of free men and women. It is a weapon our adversaries in today's world do not have. It is a weapon that we as Americans do have. Let that be understood by those who practice terrorism and prey upon their neighbors. As for the enemies of freedom, those who are potential adversaries, they will be reminded that peace is the highest aspiration of the American people. We will negotiate for it, sacrifice for it. We will not surrender for it now or ever. We are Americans.
So that was a motivating speech by President or ex-President Reagan. I actually had another speech, but oh well, that was in the other live stream. Let's hope this works. Ja mensen, we zijn er weer, RHTVLive. En ja, we hadden net wat technische mankementen. En we zijn alweer terug. Ja, vanuit het mooie Maastricht. So we're stationed here in Maastricht in the south of the Netherlands. And of course we look at history and we try to learn from it. And we also look at the future, right? So the Dutch cabinet has fallen. Yep. For the third time, right? It's fallen, it's demissionary, and yeah, we're going to show you guys that too. But first, we're going to start with something called andere tijden, other times. And there was this, this thing called the USSR, right? They were seen as enemies. And of course, the Netherlands also prepared, to withstand the USSR. Let's see if we can find that. Oh yeah, here. Hoe waren we voorbereid op een Russische aanval? How were we prepared on a Russian attack? Let's take a look at this here.
Jaar na jaar imponeerde de Sovjet-Unie ons met zijn parades en zijn wapens, rij na rij. De angst was echt. Wat als de dag kwam dat de Russen aanvielen? Maar er bleef één geruststelling. We konden ons voorbereiden op die dag.
Soesterberg is de oudste vliegbasis van Nederland. En die werd in 1910 al gevlogen. Er waren 2 autohandelaren die hier vliegdemonstraties gaven. In 1913 is het overgenomen door het ministerie van Oorlog. En vanaf die tijd was het een militaire basis. Nederland.
So they're talking about Soesterberg, which is in the Netherlands. And in 1910, it was first used by car mechanics, as a hobby. And then 3 years later, 1913, it was taken over by the military and used as a testing ground for the military.
Nederland was lid geworden van de NATO, de Noord-Atlantische Verdragsorganisatie, maar we hadden geen geld. De basis hier lag in puin na de Tweede Wereldoorlog. Nederland had zijn handen vol in Nederlands-Indië. En voor een land wat in puin lag na de oorlog was dat een enorme inspanning. Er was gewoon geen geld voor. We zeggen, ja, we kunnen het gewoon niet aan om nog meer vliegtuigen te kopen en die luchtverdediging op een peil te brengen dat verantwoord was voor de NATO.
Op Soesterberg.
We basically joined the NATO, right? But the country was destroyed after the Second World War. We basically had no money and no supplies to defend ourselves. This is basically why we joined NATO.
Zijn de minister van Oorlog, ingenieur Staf en de Amerikaanse ambassadeur, de heer Freeman Matthews, aanwezig geweest bij de overdracht van het Amerikaanse jachteskader 512, dat op verzoek van onze regering door de Verenigde Staten in Nederland werd gestationeerd. Het Amerikaanse eskader op het vliegveld Soesterberg staat door deze overeenkomst nu onder bevel van de Nederlandse chef luchtmacht.
Toen de Amerikanen kwamen werd het banenstelsel versterkt, want er kwamen steeds zwaardere vliegtuigen. En geloof.
So the Americans took over Soesterberg and, basically was an American base within the Netherlands.
Midden jaren 50, toen is ook de hoofdbaan verlengd tot meer dan 3 kilometer. Want de Amerikanen wilden hier ook troepen kunnen invliegen in geval van oplopende spanning, oorlog, noem het maar. Militairen waren zich voortdurend bewust van de dreiging van het Warschau-pact. Hier in de basis en rondom die basis was de Koude Oorlog dus heel nadrukkelijk aanwezig. In het begin werd.
So America was well known with the Warsaw Pact, right? And basically the Netherlands had America as a defense against the Russians. So very interesting part of history, Dutch history. And yeah, I hope you guys will take a look at andere tijden, even though you don't understand the language. So always nice to see what's happening in other countries, right? So what else do we have that we can put on table? Let's see. This is very interesting, right? The BRICS, yeah, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa are making gold-backed currency, right? So this is very, very interesting. Let's take a listen to these guys.
About the Russian economy. It's been a couple of weeks since we've done an update as to what's happening in Russia on the economy side of things. And things are looking good from everything that I'm reading. I'm also reading that, I read Putin's statement at the virtual meeting with the other SCO members. And he actually said that they're doing a lot of business and a lot of trade with the Chinese yuan, which is also interesting. I think he said something like 80% of the trade that's occurring now between Russia and China is taking place in yuan. So it looks like Russia has successfully completely pivoted away from the collective West financial system. And they're reaping the rewards of that successful pivot. And other countries are interested and trying to follow suit.
Absolutely, you're completely correct. And we've had a whole slew of economic figures now coming out. Putin had a meeting with his Prime Minister Mishustin, and they were talking about what the overall situation is in the economy. And if you remember, at the end of last year, the IMF said that Russia would probably achieve 0.7% growth this year, which is already a surprise to most people. In the first 5 months, it achieved 0.6% growth. In May, it was 5%.
Wait a minute, aren't we putting sanctions on Russia? Now, how can the economy grow when we put sanctions on Russia, right? Very interesting, right? Well, it's because Russia also has gas and oil, and they export it to other countries, such as India, China, and more Eastern countries. And this is what happens when the European Union gives them sanctions. They look eastward. So that, together with the BRICS, which is coming forward even more, they're even more on the stage, and they're going to have gold-backed currency, right? So that means the trading currency has value. Now the petrodollar is based on oil, and it has a paper standard, so it's not based on any value. It's based on paper, right? And the export for the petrodollar is oil. So when a country wants to buy oil, they have to buy in petrodollars. And this is how the American empire keeps, keeps their grip on things.
5.4% year-on-year growth, and we hear that growth has been strong also in June, and is likely to continue to be in July. And the PMI figures are really very strong. In services, they're almost 60%. In manufacturing, it's around 52.5%, slightly fell back. But that's because of problems in the oil industry, which we'll come to in a moment. So overall, very strong growth in the economy, rising living standards, a good harvest. In other words, large amounts of food grown, and very, very subdued inflation. Inflation fell to around...
Subdued inflation. Now, I thought the sanctions were so Russia would be poor. But that's not really happening, is it? Yeah, it's a weird world, right? So we're going to show you what's going on here. Let's put the map back on screen. There you go. Here we have the Netherlands. We'll get to the fall of the cabinet soon. But first, geopolitics, very interesting. So, Moscow, it has sanctions, right? In St. Petersburg, they have sanctions. And all of Europe, basically, except for Hungary, says we have to sanction Moscow. So Moscow is basically looking eastward, right? They're getting closer to China. So there we have China. And Russia has formed a new alliance, basically. You know, the Western powers have their own alliance, NATO, and, you know, financial stakeholders and stuff like that. They have their own alliance, and Russia has built their own alliance. So you have two systems next to each other, right? And now Russia has the BRICS countries, and basically they're going to have a gold-backed currency. This is what Libya wanted. Gaddafi wanted a gold-backed currency, right? We overthrew Libya with NATO. So how did NATO start in Europe, you may wonder? Well, you have Lyman Lemnitzer, who basically was a general. He was fired by JFK, right? because Lemnitzer had a plan called Operation Northwoods. Now that was a plan that was never used. Right? Kennedy fired all these people, Allen Dulles and all them. You know, you fire them, and suddenly Kennedy got shot. 1963 in Dallas, Texas. Right? So you have a whitewash commission, and that's still basically the official story, you know. Let's see, it was used on 9/11. Exactly. Operation Northwoods was a blueprint for 9/11. And it was also used in Europe, right? Because Lemnitzer, he was fired and he went to Europe. So over in Europe, he had made Operation Gladio. Those were stay-behind networks, basically to fight off the communism and National Socialism. Operatie Gladio was in 1952 gestart, geheim stay-behind netwerk in Italië, gesponsord door de CIA en de NAVO. So it was a stay-behind network in Italy and sponsored by the CIA and NATO, right? Om in geval van een communistische machtsovername in Italië of bij Russische inval in andere landen het verzet te organiseren. So these stay-behind networks were there to fend off the communists, or and this was all done by the CIA and also the military-industrial complex, right? So the first preparement was in 1947. So this was 2 years after the Second World War. And Gladio is from Italy because there was a lawsuit in Italy about Gladio because they were involved in Europe, destabilizing Europe, right? De rol van Gladio in Europa bij onder meer aanslagen en terreur heeft in diverse landen tot parlementaire onderzoeken geleid. So the role of Gladio in Europe with terrorist strikes has had many investigations in many parliaments within Europe, right? And they all came to the same conclusion. So who built this whole thing? Not only the Pentagon, but also the people in shadow government, right? The deep state. So this is what's really happening. I'm not making this up, right? So you have that as a destabilization factor. And if we look into the future from the standpoint of Gladio, right, that was after the Second World War. If we look into the future, Afghanistan, right, you'll see that Afghanistan was also supported by the U.S., right? So after the Mujahideen fell, you had three organizations, and the Mujahideen was an army to fend off the Russians because they invaded Afghanistan, right? And after they won from Russia, Zbigniew Brzezinski, right, Pakistan, we already showed this. But after after the Mujahideen won, it fell into three pieces, right? You had the Taliban, the Northern Alliance, and also a very small fraction called Al Qaeda. Now, Al Qaeda was or is a Saudi proxy in Afghanistan. So the whole mission in Afghanistan was basically to to make Afghanistan a democracy. And we're going to take a look at Demented Joe, who says he was right about the withdrawal from Afghanistan.
It's about
Well, let's rewind this here.
with the leader of the free world. And this week we've learned that President Joe Biden is using a medical device to treat sleep apnea after the media noted strap marks on his face from the CPAP machine. Is that what they're called? I don't know. But I've got to tell, sleep apnea, couldn't care less what the president does to help him sleep at night. What we should care about is the mental decline that saw him this week claim that Vladimir Putin was losing the war in Iraq. And then yesterday, when he was asked about the State Department's damning findings on his administration's botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, we got this set of self-serving lies delivered via Biden's bizarro whispering shtick.
No, all the evidence is coming back there. Remember what I said about Afghanistan? I said Al Qaeda would not be there. I said it wouldn't be there. I said we'd get help from the Taliban. What's happening now? What's going on? Read your press. I was right. Thanks.
So wait a minute. What about Operation Enduring Freedom? You guys remember that? Operation Enduring Freedom? Well, what was the goal of Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan, right? Let's take a look at what was the goal of Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan. Wait, let's see if we can find it. Here we go. You see, Enduring Freedom goals. The very simple purpose was to build and maintain pressure inside Afghanistan with the objective of destruction of the Al Qaeda terrorist network and the government of the Taliban. So Joe Biden said, I was right. I was right. I was really right. Yeah, I was right. You were not right. You know, the goal was to put democracy in Afghanistan, to get rid of the Taliban. That did not happen. You gave power to the Taliban. You know? So this is what's really happening, people. And very, very sad to see. So basically the U.S. empire is falling. You know, it's crumbling. You guys have lost Afghanistan, and you guys are losing the proxy war in Ukraine. And I know that there are a lot of people that are against this war, but they don't understand what's really going on, right? So let's show you guys what's going on. Let's tell a bit about what's going on in Ukraine, for example. Well, in 2014, you had Victoria Nuland, together with Jeffrey Pyatt, talking about who's going to be in power in Ukraine. And they knew that Ukraine is basically a country split into two, right? The West is more European, and the east is more Russian. So what basically happened was the coup government attacked the east of Ukraine because they said that the coup government was not their government. This is how the whole war in Ukraine started, right? So the east of Ukraine, Donbass, Lugansk, and all those regions, they wanted autonomy within Ukraine. And they basically took their autonomy. And they asked Russia to intervene. And this is where we are now, the Russia-Ukraine war, right? So that as a background, there is a lot happening, you know. So Russia is exporting their gas and oil to China, to India, and those two countries basically. So, and they're earning a lot of money, you know. So, yeah, the sanctions against Russia does not help, right? The Russians also have the Nord Stream pipeline, right? And we still don't know who did it. Well, we do know, but it's not spoken out. It was America, MI5, American England, right? NATO drill in the Baltic Sea, and you know, America is blaming Ukraine for what they did. So Ukraine, if we believe America, Ukraine has done a terroristic attack to infrastructure of Europe, right? And now Moscow does not see any, you know, any cooperation with Europe, you know, for their gas and oil. So what they're doing is basically putting a pipeline in the Black Sea. They have agreements with Turkey, you know, to sell their gas and oil. So Turkey has an export to sell gas and oil to Europe, right? Because the connections with Europe is closer than the connections to Moscow. So this is what's happening. And yeah, I hope people understand this. You know, there is a lot happening in the world. I'm trying to explain what's happening. So the war in Ukraine is not the only war that's going on right now. We also have a war in Sudan, right? In Sudan, you had a coup government, basically, and that has paramilitary people working together with the coup government. And now the paramilitary people, they are fighting the coup government, the army, and this is what's happening in Sudan right now. Just to give you guys an overview of what's happening. So let's take a look at another clip from our friend Mark Dice. Yep, Mark Dice also has very cool videos to watch. Let's see if we can find it. It's here somewhere. Here we have it. RFK blows lid off Operation Mockingbird and how the CIA manipulates American news media. So, you know, when I talk about Operation Mockingbird, right, they put me away as a conspiracy theorist and all that. So here you have someone who's been in the power structure all his life, basically, and he knows the insides. So we're going to take a look at this here.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. just made another stunning revelation on a podcast. Well, I guess it's old news to us, but it'll be new news to Fox News viewers and anybody who watches the brand name Conservative Inc., supposed alternative media figures like Ben Shapiro and all the rest, because he sat down with Lex Friedman recently, just a few days ago, who was some computer nerd and artificial intelligence guru who will ultimately be a servant of Satan and wants people to plug into the matrix through a neural interface. But that's a whole other issue. But Robert F. Kennedy Jr. mentioned one of my favorite topics.
For most of its life, the CIA was banned from propagandizing Americans. But we learned that they were doing it anyway. So in 1973, during the Church Committee hearings, we learned that the CIA had a program called Operation Mockingbird, where they had at least 400 members, leading members of the United States Press Corps, and the New York Times, the Washington Post, ABC, CBS, NBC, etc., who were secretly working for the agency and steering news coverage to support CIA priorities.
By the way, if you don't know, the reason his voice sounds shaky isn't that he's sick or an elderly man. He has some disease with his vocal cords that cause them to spasm every time that he speaks.
And they agreed at that time to disband Operation Mockingbird in 73. But there's indications they didn't do that. And the CIA today is the biggest funder of journalism around the world. The biggest funder is through USAID.
Now, he's being way overly diplomatic there, trying not to sound like a conspiracy theorist by saying there are indications that they didn't end it. Well, of course they didn't.
You say that continues today?
Well, I would think probably for a reporter it would continue today, but because of all of the revelations of the period of the 1970s, it seems to me that a reporter's got to be much more circumspect in doing it now, or he runs the risk of at least being looked at with considerable disfavor by the public. I think you've got to be much more careful about it.
And for 19 years now, since 2004, when I first learned about Operation Mockingbird, before YouTube, before Facebook, when I was an internet radio host on GCN, the Genesis Communications Network, the same network that I think still syndicates Alex Jones's show. Very few of my current subscribers know this because obviously it was a long time ago. My audience back then was very small. But you know that I've been shouting about Operation Mockingbird pretty much nonstop. And all you need to do, anybody needs to do, is look at the Church Committee report, which was published in 1976, where it says on page 455 that the CIA currently maintains a network of several hundred individuals around the world who provide intelligence for the CIA and at times attempt to influence opinion through the use of covert propaganda. These individuals provide the CIA with direct access to a large number of newspapers and periodicals, scores of press services and news agencies, radio and television stations, commercial book publishers, and other foreign media outlets.
The United States funds journalism in almost every country in the world. It owns newspapers. It has journalists on it, thousands and thousands of journalists on its payroll. They're not supposed to be doing that in the United States, but in 2016, President Obama changed the law to make it legal now for the CIA to propagandize Americans. And I think...
Yes, that was through the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act of 2012. Obama needed to modernize it so that it would be fully legal for the CIA to spread fake news in American media.
I mean,
So we know that the CIA is spreading fake news. And over here in the Netherlands, we also had two institutions during Operation Gladio, right? And we're going to show you guys. Goedenavond, Mansbroek. Zo, kijk eens, operatie en inlichtingen. Ja, dat is dus eigenlijk van de CIA. Dit was met operatie Gladio, een stay-behind organisatie. En hun motieven waren dus de bevolking zo weerbaar mogelijk houden tegen de communistische propaganda. Ja. So, operation and inlichtingen. Oh well. This proxy was made by the CIA, and this was used against communist propaganda. Right? Dus dit gebeurt allemaal. Ik verzin dit allemaal niet. Ja, we laten alleen de realiteit zien. Even kijken hier. The media here in New Zealand is state-owned. Yep, same here. Same here. But, Grip, Dan, we have to realize that we are the media. You know, not all these corporations that are sponsored by Big Pharma and all that. We are the media, right? We are the media. The light shines within us. And we have to reignite the light and fight this system, right? Try to change it. That's our goal. Now, let's see what happened to the Netherlands, right? As I've said before, the cabinet has fallen, and we're going to take a look at our ex-prime minister saying that, you know, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. We did not help you, but I'm sorry. Yep. Zo gaat het, mensen. Ja, het zijn slechte acteurs. Die Rutte en Kaag en al die anderen. Ja, het zijn echt heel slechte acteurs. We gaan even kijken naar Mark Rutte, uitgerangeerd en uitgeregeerd. En we gaan even kijken naar deze oorlogscrimineel. So this is the war criminal, Mark Rutte, who we need to confront and put in the ICC, right? International Criminal Court, for attacking Libya, for attacking Iraq, Afghanistan, and Syria. So we're going to take a look at this war criminal here. Even terugspoelen.
Dames en heren, en ook mensen thuis die dit volgen. Het is geen geheim dat de coalitiepartners heel verschillend denken over het migratiebeleid. En vandaag moeten we helaas de conclusie trekken dat die verschillen onoverbrugbaar zijn. Daarom zal ik direct hierna schriftelijk het ontslag van het voltallige kabinet aanbieden aan de koning. Ik stuur uiteraard die ontslagaanvraag ook in kopie aan de Tweede Kamer.
Alweer? Ben je alweer ontslagen? Dat kan er niet waar zijn. Je was al ontslagen. Dan ga je jezelf weer aanstellen als minister-president, kabinet Rutte 4. En dan word je weer ontslagen. Je kan niks, Mark. Je moet ermee ophouden. Ja, laat iemand anders maar regeren. Je kan gewoon niks. Dus we kijken verder.
Ik heb de koning eerder vandaag op de hoogte gehouden van de politieke ontwikkelingen en zal hem ook morgen bijpraten en uitleggen wat er precies gebeurd is. Migratie is een groot en belangrijk onderwerp.
So, this war criminal is talking about migration, right? We had a four-party coalition, and you know, those four parties were talking about stuff as like disowning the farmers and stuff like that. The nitrogen case, they say. And now the migration dilemma has broken the cabinet. And now this war criminal is going to talk about migration. Now, we supported a proxy that was attacking Syria, Jabhat al-Shamiya, which provided this migration, right? Because we attacked Syria, that was one of the most densely populated countries within the Middle East.
Zowel politiek als maatschappelijk. Nu we op dit thema, op dit belangrijke onderwerp, niet tot overeenstemming kunnen komen, hebben we ons in de ministerraad moeten beraden over de ontstaande situatie en gezamenlijk geoordeeld dat het politieke draagvlak onder de coalitie is weggevallen.
Wij vieren feest, van achter en van voren. Ja, Mark Rutte is eindelijk ontslagen, alweer. Nou, we hebben hem al ontslagen. Hij is dus niet beëdigd door de koning, omdat hij onder functie was en zoiets. Maar hij is alweer ontslagen. So, we had a demissionary cabinet a while back. And then we had elections, which, the Dutch population chose for this guy again, this war criminal, even though you're not allowed to talk about it. But I think there is voting fraud happening also in other countries, but also here in the Netherlands, right? And this is how this guy came into power again.
Dat is zeer betreurenswaardig. Maar het is tegelijkertijd...
Het is zeer betreurenswaardig dat we 4 kabinetten Rutte hebben gehad en dat je nog niet eens een regeerperiode weet uit te zetten. Nederland is onbestuurbaar geworden, helaas. Ja, en we hebben een speciale leider nodig die Nederland op de goede pad kan richten. Ja. So this guy, he's basically worthless. In Greek mythology, you have King Midas, right? Maybe you guys know the story. But there was this king who wanted gold. And he found a genie, a magic lamp, and he could make one wish. And everything that he touches turned into gold because he wanted more gold. Well, Midas, here we have Mark, and everything that he touches breaks apart, right? It's like destroyed. Libya, we destroyed Libya. We gave no money to Libya. We helped them, right, by throwing humanitarian bombs, right? This is insane, insane. And nothing for rebuilding Libya. Nope. We got another war to invest in, right? Ukraine. Very, very sad to see. And we should be happy that this war criminal is finally fired again, right? 4 cabinets, Rutte. It's like, what the hell? And before Rutte, we had Balkenende, right? Jan-Peter Balkenende. That guy, oh my God. He's like Harry Potter, Harry Potter, and he cannot stand on a skateboard. We're going to show you guys Jan-Peter Balkenende skateboard. So there were young kids on a skateboard in Eindhoven, and they were like, "Oh, Prime Minister, come on over here. You want to be cool? Yeah, come on over here. Stand on the skateboard." So we're going to take a look at this here.
dat Balkenende op het skateboard stapte. EDTV heeft de exclusieve opnames van het toenmalige Eindhovense blad Paper.
Balken?
Ja, kom jij Balkenende?
Balken? Nee, wist ik niet. Goeie oude Bie, die van de dingen.
Hij heeft laatst aangegeven dat hij wat hipper wil worden eigenlijk. Dat vindt hij zelf ook een beetje saai.
Hipper?
Ja,
hij is ook wel saai vent eigenlijk.
Nou ja, dan leek het ons een goed idee van Paper om hem skatles te geven. Kunnen jullie niet eens even wat fijne...
Dat is wel een best idee. Ja. Ik wil het best doen. We geven hem zeker skaten. Voilà. Wanneer hebben we lesje? Wanneer hebben we lesje? Nee, wilt u misschien skaten?
Wat zeg je nou?
Wilt u misschien skateboarden?
Ja, ben ik niet skateboarden.
Nee, want u wilt toch wat hip worden, heb ik gehoord. Ja, dat is gewoon. Dat is hip worden. Niks.
So these kids are saying, you want to be hip, right? Here you have a skateboard. Come on, stand on it. And he's like, okay, I'm going to do that.
Vertel eens, hoe gaat dat dan?
Ja, kijk, we gaan erop staan.
Ja.
En het is gewoon af, dat je hier bent. Gewoon heel simpel. Dus mag je me vasthouden. Dus dit is gewoon... Nee, mag me vasthouden.
Maar dat is niet weet je van natuurlijk.
Ja, maar ik zie aan dat je de feeling al hebt.
Dat feeling heb ik.
So that was our ex-prime minister, who also had 4 cabinets, you know, and yeah, very, very sad to see. De 4 keer Balkenende. En dan denk je, eindelijk zijn we van Balkenende af. En dan krijgen we Rutte. En dan denk ik van, oh my god, really? Mark Rutte? So if you put these people next to each other, it's like they're twins. You know? They're twins. In Harry Potter, you had that guy, Dumbledore, right? That was played by some English actor, and he died. And I believe it's part 3 where you have another Dumbledore. Now, that's what's happening in the Dutch politics, right? We have another Dumbledore in form of Mark Rutte. So that was our ex-prime minister. Echt, je schaamt je toch kapot met zo'n minister-president. Echt, ja. Ik snap het niet hoor. Ik snap het echt niet. Dat wij dat allemaal pikken. Leg me dit eens uit. Hoe komt het nou dat de Nederlandse bevolking zich bijna niks van aantrekt van wat er gebeurt in het buitenland? Leg me dit eens uit. Explain to me why the Dutch population is not interested in what's happening outside of the country, geopolitics. So here we have Patrick Lancaster. We haven't heard from him from quite a while, but 25 minutes ago he posted this here. It's a special documentary where the Russians are positioning and trying to fight the Ukrainians. So he's on the Russian side in the east of Ukraine. We're going to take a look at this here.
I'm Patrick Lancaster, and right now we are near the front line, the active front line on the direction of Ugledar and Zaporozhye, south of Donetsk. And what we're going to be doing today is taking a Russian forces armored military vehicle into the front line and showing you exactly what is happening on the ground, and show you Ukrainian positions and show you the Russian forces positions who they took from Ukraine last year. And we're going to show you everything we see it. We're told we're going to be getting very close to the actual contact line, just a matter of meters between the positions we will be at and the Ukrainian forces position. It'll be very hot, very intense, and with the so-called Ukrainian counter-offensive on the horizon, who knows what we're going to run into. But you see, it's night, it's the middle of the night. We're going to be going into the night and into the next day. And we're not going to be able to leave till the next night, because during the day, it's too dangerous to travel back and forth between the positions because of drones overhead that could bomb the transportation. So here we go. Please hit like, subscribe, and share. Remember, we're totally independent, crowdfunded journalists. Support our work with the link on the screen or in the description.
Так вот лучше сейчас не снимать, потому что видно пиздец, потому что сначала камеру держал.
Это будет нормально, если как это, да?
Да, наверное.
Короче, будет так.
Наверное. Давайте там наверх кинем 10 человек. Так это Петр, куда? На четвертую, да? Да. Все, добро. Это не ваш. Вперед, был полган. Да? Да. Вынули как покушать. Теперь. Это спор. Что? Андрюха, садись сзади. Вот тут сзади.
So we can see Patrick Lancaster on a tank, or whatever vehicle this is here. I think it's a tank. And they're doing night patrols. Let's see what else we got here. Gunfire wakes us up. This is interesting.
So we just heard a few. So we just heard some gunfire coming from outside, and I think we're gonna head out and see what's going on. Oh, my boots are soaked. So we just heard some gunfire from outside. I'm gonna go check it out, see what's going on. So we've come in to get a glass of tea back in the cafe here. We see the guys are watching Pulp Fiction. Pretty interesting. And it's dubbed in Russian.
Oh. Well, sometimes you need some R&R, right? Relax and rest and relaxation. Yep. So why not watch a movie during war times, huh? So yeah, that's interesting. I advise you guys to follow Patrick Lancaster so you know what's happening in the east of Ukraine. So let's show you guys where he is. Let's see, the Zaporizhia region. Let's see if we can find that on the map. So So Ukraine, there we have Ukraine, Zaporizhia. That's right here, Zaporizhia region. That is where Patrick Lancaster is right now, or at least where he uploaded his video. And basically, Russia is making a ditch, a very large ditch, where the tanks can fall in, right? And they also have these other things to stop the tanks and stuff. So they're making it very hard for Ukraine to take back that territory. And I believe that Donetsk and Mariupol and the Zaporizhia region and Kharkiv, they don't want to stay with Ukraine. So the good, the end of the war should be the West would be Ukraine, and the East on the right side of the river should be Russia. There should be a natural border, right? But that's not what they want. That's not what Kiev wants. That's not what NATO wants. And during the formation of NATO, right, we covered that, Operation Gladio and stuff. During the formation of NATO, there also was the Warsaw Pact. You guys remember that? All these USSR countries having a pact within the east of Europe. Well, when the USSR fell, the pact also fell, right? And Europe said, we're not going an inch east. And they did. Now Poland is part of the EU. Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, all part of the EU. And they're also expanding into the Balkan area. Croatia is part of the EU. Bosnia-Herzegovina, which is next to Croatia, is not yet part of the EU. Albania is also on the list to join EU. Here we have Bosnia-Herzegovina, right? In Zoom. There we have Bosnia-Herzegovina, and they are on the list to join the EU. But this is very, very complicated because Bosnia-Herzegovina has 3 presidents. They have an Albanian president, a Serbian president, and a Croatian president, basically sharing the power. So, very complicated situation there. And we also have Serbia, right? And Serbia has Kosovo, which is basically a region of Serbia. And, that was taken in by NATO after the Yugoslavia war. You guys remember that? Yugoslavia war. So basically the European countries had said, yep, we're going to make a new country within Serbia named Kosovo. Now, there were recent elections in Kosovo, and the Serbians within the north of Kosovo, they boycotted the elections, which now you have Albanian mayor in Kosovo, and the Albanian minority did vote. So, yeah, that is a situation of tensions over there. Serbia also said you're not allowed to have another license plate, right? And Kosovo has their own license plate, And there was this official from Kosovo who went to Serbia, who wanted to go to Belgrade, but he was stopped by the police because he had a Kosovo license plate. So, yeah, that's basically what's happening over there. Tensions are building up. A lot of NATO supported troops are in Kosovo right now, in the hopes that they can quell the anger. But having NATO troops in Kosovo quells the anger of the Serbians, right? They're shooting themselves in the foot again. This is also what they did with Libya. Libya is a different story, but they shot themselves in the foot attacking Gaddafi, because Gaddafi was the barrier to stop the migration coming from other African countries. If we look at the Congo, right, the DRC, Democratic Republic of the Congo, that is the longest war Africa has ever had, right? So you have Rwanda, Burundi, and Uganda. They overthrew basically the government. It used to be Zaire, right? And they overthrew the government in Kinshasa, and they made the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So what happened then was the proxies that came from Uganda, Rwanda, and Burundi had formed their own government, and now you have new proxies coming from those three countries trying to overthrow the proxy that they installed in Kinshasa, right? And this is the longest war in the DRC, in Africa, basically. You know, and these people are fleeing the DRC. So they're going through the Central African Republic, then through Chad, and then we have Libya, right? These people are, you know, millions of these people come to Libya and Tunisia. They don't go to Egypt because they have Sisi over there, dictator. They avoid that. And Algeria, they also avoid that. And you also have Morocco, which has a Spanish enclave, right, with real high fences and stuff. And all these refugees climb over the fences trying to go to Europe. So this is what's happening, right? And ever since we overthrew Libya, you know, Libya is also in chaos, still recuperating from 10 years of civil war. You had an international appointed government in Tripoli, and also in Benghazi, you had an old general of Gaddafi trying to take over power there. And you also had an African coalition within Libya, but they did not really fight the other two opponents. You know, they were in the back seat, put it that way. So the general was fighting the international coalition, the international government, and basically the general said, "We're going to stop. We're going to make a political party, and we're going to, you know, do this in the political spectrum, in the political way." But Libya has no constitution, and this is the power struggle, you know, which is still going on. And they are investing in Libya, but not the Netherlands. Nope. It's Italy, Greece, and also Turkey, also investing in Libya. They have this gas deal, which is bothering Turkey because the pipeline goes through the Turkish or Greece, because the pipeline goes through Greek waters towards Turkey, right? So there's a lot happening in the world, and we, explained quite a lot, even though we haven't touched upon Iran and Saudi Arabia. The embassies are open in Riyadh and also in Tehran. These were enemies of each other, fighting off shadow proxy wars, basically, in other countries such as Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon. Jordan is also, being destabilized here and there. So it's all about influence. During the fall of Libya, you had a lot of people, fighters from Saudi Arabia in Libya. You also had Iranian fighters in Libya. And then they attacked Syria. So you had Saudi fighters and Iranian fighters in Syria. And now China has come to the table and said, you guys have been fighting long enough. We need to make peace. So, and China is part of BRICS, right? And so you have two systems. One is falling apart within Europe and also America. One is falling apart, and the other is having a new currency backed by gold. So their economy is doing very well. Ja, mensen, we hebben het maar even snel uitgelegd wat er allemaal gaande is. In het Engels ook nog wel. En ik hoop dat men dit allemaal verstaat en begrijpt. Als we nog gaan kijken naar het oosten van de wereld, Japan, ja, daar komt ook veel nieuws vandaan de laatste tijd. Want, wat zijn ze daar van plan in Japan? Ja, Japan is in the news quite often now because they're planning something in Japan, and let's see if we can put that on screen. We go to Arirang News. Even kijken of we kunnen vinden. Yeah, so this is the Sudan war I was talking about, right? The conflict between the military and the proxy. So also very interesting to watch that. Arirang News tells us that Japan wants to put contaminated soil in the waters, in the ocean, and stuff like that. Fukushima wastewater discharge plan. We're going to take a look at this here. A lot of countries are saying, no, we don't want this. And the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, says there's nothing wrong. Yep, it's not contaminated anymore. And people don't trust it. We're going to take a look at this here.
Let's talk more about Japan's plan to release the Fukushima wastewater into the Pacific Ocean. When exactly and why does it matter so much? For more, we have our political correspondent Lee Shihu with us. Welcome, Shihu.
Hi, Taimi.
So, Shihu, first off, do provide us some background on what the wastewater is exactly that Japan is planning to release.
Right, Tommy. So yes, so ever since a massive tsunami destroyed the plant back in 2011, Japan has been pumping water into the facility to cool the plant's nuclear reactor's fuel rods. The used or contaminated water has been and is currently stored in massive tanks. Now, Japan's plan is to purify the water using a filtering system called the Advanced Liquid Processing System, or ALPS, before diluting it with seawater.
So as our Peunji reported earlier, the IAEA has given the okay to let go of that wastewater into the ocean, right? Then what next steps will Japan take? I mean, there are reports that Japan could release that water as early as next month.
Right, that's right. So the Japanese government has been saying that they plan on initiating the release this summer. Japanese media outlets have reported that its government is aiming to begin doing so in August. But there's also a chance it could be further pushed back as regions in Japan are gearing up for local elections, and the release may have some effect on the outcomes.
Then Shifu, why August? Why this summer? Out of all the months and seasons, is there a particular reason?
Right, Tommy. So it has to do with what I mentioned earlier about the massive storage tanks that are used for storing the contaminated water. So far, more than 1,000 tanks have been filled already. Listen in.
As for why this summer, well, space is fast running out at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant. There are currently more than 1,000 storage tanks. There are more than 1.3 million tons of water. Water is still being accumulated every day. These tanks are nearing full capacity, and well, plant operator TEPCO says there is no more space to build new tanks. And
once it begins, the release is expected to continue for 30 years until the 2050s.
So it's going to be a 3-decade-long process. Now, let's talk about how people here in South Korea are reacting to the IAEA's decision. I mean, what's the general public sentiment?
Well, prior to the release of the report, a survey by Gallup Korea found that approximately 8 out of 10 South Korean adults find Japan's plan worrisome. Now that
same here, I find it very worrisome because we did talk about Fukushima and the ecological stuff, but we got censored back then. I don't know if you're allowed to talk about it now. But, this is something we have to look at. Something else we just put on table, right? And we have to look at this. So the Japanese government concealed radiation levels and stuff like that. There is an expert who is on Twitch, I believe. And, he talks about the radiation levels and stuff like that. Very interesting to follow. So, we're just showing you guys what's going on. If they can clean it for release into the ocean, why can't they clean it for reuse, recycle it? Yeah, Exactly. Why not use that water, if it's clean, as drinking water, right? You have a drinking reserve. No, we're going to throw that radioactive stuff in the ocean. Yeah, maybe we'll get fish with 3 heads and stuff like that. You also had that rabbit, that was born without any ears. And stuff like that. It's amazing, really is amazing. So I object. Japan, I object. I may live in Europe, far away from you guys, but I object. Don't do it. Don't make your neighbors angry, and don't throw nuclear pollution in the oceans. So we're live longer than an hour, 1 hour, 19 minutes, and we're off to a close. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, even though there were some technical difficulties. Let's shut the video with Natasha Maeve, of course, but first, let's take a look at what's happening around the world So BBC is under pressure. Presenter investigated over photo of teen. Yeah, who knows? Maybe it's the new Jimmy Savile or Seville or however you want to call him. You know, who knows? So heavy rain, flooding in India. Let's see, thousands defy bans in France to protest against police violence. U.S.-China talks. Yeah, that what's his face went to China and had a very long discussion with Xi, the president of China. Greece property boom. Young Greeks are being priced out of their homes. Same here in the Netherlands. The prices are, very, very high. Very hard to get a living space here in the Netherlands. So Brazil and Colombia saving their Amazon rainforest. We should believe that, but they're politicians and they also are very bad actors and they lie, basically. This is how they keep power. So heavy monsoon rain in Pakistan, also in India, as we saw. Palestinian babies at risk. 3 hospitals attacked during assault. Israel, or the rogue state, as I call it, is, doing all these raids in Jenin, for example, and other parts of the West Bank, and, lighting up houses and stuff like that. Really, really insane. And, we're sanctioning Russia because of war in Ukraine, but we're doing nothing about Israel setting houses on fire with people in it and raids on refugee camps and stuff like that. Now, how can you be a refugee in your own country? Very, very sad. Battle for Bakhmut, yep. Ukraine has a part of Bakhmut back, and the Russians are letting them attack Bakhmut again. It's not constant. It is very hard to to have a place and to keep it. This is why we eventually left Afghanistan, right? The enduring freedom. We were supposed to destroy the Taliban, Al Qaeda, and all these other terrorist networks that were in Afghanistan. As I've said before, the Mujahideen, right? They split apart, civil war for a very long time, and the Taliban won. Now, 9/11 happened, and they said, yep, it's in Afghanistan, Al Qaeda. So the goal was to basically get rid of the Taliban, and now they're in power again. Very, very sad to see. Tunisia border crisis, expulsion of African refugees. Yeah, that's also happening. As I've said before, right, many come from the Congo war over there, and they're going to Tunisia or Libya. Let's take a look at this here. Let's see how many refugees Tunisia is stopping.
They've overcome huge obstacles and distances to reach Tunisia, but the perilous journey is far from over for these sub-Saharan migrants. They're camping out in front of this UN Refugee Agency building in the Tunisian capital.
We're not here to create problems. We're only en route to Europe. We're not here to stay or harm the locals, but even amongst us, there are harmful people who are harassing us. The situation in Sfax is very bad.
Many are scared, afraid to even wander the streets. Attacks on migrants have increased in recent months.
The life here in Tunis is hard for the people black. You understand? Yes.
I know you're afraid, Aled Fargus. I know you're afraid. I'm talking to you, right? I know you're afraid, but you have to do something in your own country, right? Help your own country. Don't go to other countries expecting a handout. You know, do something about it. Do something in your own country.
The people attack other people. The color skin no is important. In fact, much every time attack the people black. I don't know why.
Last week, Tunisia's second largest city, Sfax, saw intense clashes between residents and migrants. A brawl on Monday saw a Tunisian man stabbed to death. In response, Tunisian authorities forcibly deported hundreds of migrants from the city to the Tunisian-Libyan border. Human Rights Watch accused Tunisia of violating international law by collective expulsions of black migrants. Some Tunisians agree.
Collective expulsions are definitely a violation of international law and basic principle of justice. You cannot collectively judge the people without giving them proper rights.
The Tunisian-Libyan border has been described as no man's land. Some have been here for a week, but every day more black migrants are being dumped here by Tunisian authorities. They are enduring scorching heat and say they have no food or water. More than 1,200 migrants, including women and children, are stranded here.
You need to provide in your own country.
Some are injured.
So this is why you don't have to leave your own country. You know, you're coming to Europe with a prospect of golden mountains and stuff like that. Well, Europe is also, under very high pressure. We have a war in the east. We have many migrants, many from Africa and Middle East and all these other countries coming towards Europe. And, these people have to make sure that they can work within their own country. You need to fix your own country. That's what you need to do. Not flee your own country. You have to fix it. We cannot provide housing and stuff like that. We are just a small country. We're a dot on the world stage. So you have millions and millions and millions of Africans and people from other countries, and they're all coming to Europe. Well, we need to go to Europe. The gold mountains, the land of opportunity. No, there is no opportunity in Europe, right? France, you don't want to know what's happening in France. It's not the city of light anymore. It's a war zone there. It's like Ukraine, but only other circumstances. Spain is also being run over by all these African migrants, right? So, yeah, we're at the end of the live stream. I thank you all for watching, and I hope you guys learned something here. And sorry for the other live stream, restream. Couldn't help that, you know, things go wrong. But we always come back. We always come back. And we try to give geopolitics, history, and a bit of philosophy. And we're going to shut with Natasha Maeve from Canada, who speaks out with rap songs. So every politician sold their soul.
Will this storm ever pass? All we know ain't to declare. People being manipulated all through the fear. I look into their eyes, it's as if they're not even here. Empty and lost, cold as a February frost. Looks like they haven't slept, all complexion fragile and weak. Welcome to my second collection. I had to write it down, the words that I speak, how I feel and what I see. Share it with the world on a beat. I'm tired of the lies. I'm living in a country where if you're poor or depressed, they want you to sign up to die. Assisted suicide, nurses and doctors come kill you in the comfort of your home. From your couch to a gravestone, this is like a bad dream, chilling to the bone. So I get in the booth, put on my headphones and get in the zone. If I don't let out my emotion, it becomes an explosion. And I'm yelling, what the fuck is happening? I don't know, time keeps passing and it's getting dark, jet black. I miss the past, I wanna get back. Trudeau, you better step back. You destroyed this country, and whoever's next will too. This is the point of the song where many of you will turn it off if you don't want to believe that every politician sold their fucking soul and turn this song off. And stay home because you have a cough, okay, I'm angry. But who wouldn't be? If you don't feel pissed off in 2023, then you're lying to yourself. You don't want to be free? I kept this album simple. After this rhymes, heavy boom bap beats. Let it flow like the river or the blood in the street. I'm not trying to impress anyone, it's not about me. That's why you don't see what I look like. I'm not an entertainer. I don't have to look nice, I don't have to look bad. All these women getting surgery is so fucking sad. Can't you just be yourself? Why are you acting so shallow? Social media propaganda, sending your minds to the gallows. Just be yourself, not the image that they sell. The natural you is a true masterpiece. There's a psychological war. What happens after peace? When we defeated it, people say fuck the police, I get it. They never helped me when I needed it. However, nowadays we more concerned about robots with guns and ammunition. The future is a big terror show and there is no admission. You're not the audience, you're in it and there was no audition. It's up to you to escape this backwards world and rewire the cognition. Or you'll be walking in the street talking to yourself and yelling at the top of your fucking lungs until they listen. What the fuck is happening? I don't know, time keeps passing and it's getting dark, jet black. I miss the past, I wanna get back. Trudeau, you better step back. You destroyed this country, and whoever's next will too. This is the point of the song where many of you will turn it off if you don't want to believe that every politician sold their fucking soul, then turn this song off. What the fuck is happening? I don't know, time keeps passing and it's getting dark, jet black. I miss the past, I wanna get back. Trudeau, you better step back. You destroyed this country, and whoever's next will too. This is the point of the song where many of you will turn it off if you don't want to believe that every politician sold their fucking soul, then turn this song off. But if you believe it, then turn it up, because they fill in their cup. The killing isn't up, so turn it up, turn it up, turn it up. If you know it, then turn it up, turn it up. Every politician sold their fucking soul, so turn this song up, turn it 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 up, or turn it off. Fuck you, Trudeau, we're gonna turn this up. They fill in their cup, the killing isn't up. They fill in their cup, the killing isn't up. Every politician sold their fucking soul, so turn their song up, turn it up. They fill in their cup, the killing isn't up. They fill in their cup, the killing isn't up.
So there we have it. Oh, wait a minute. We got a guest. Ja, we hebben een gast, mensen. Hier is hij. Hey, wat is dat er nou? Hey, Mark. Ben je ontslagen? Ik kan er niet, man. Wat is dat nou? Ik kan er niet. Nou ja, ben jij even klootzak, man. So that was Morik. Yep. He's back. We'll see each other next time. And thanks for watching.